bringing yourself back to the moment. This is something I think is overlooked in just our day-to-day society, and it's something that comes up a lot when I talk to people about martial arts, about meditation. The goal isn't to escape your reality. The goal is to connect your mind, your body, your spirit through your breath and through your focus. There's loads of different ways of doing this. Like the easiest one that I would teach, and you can do this with me now, is if you hold your hand out and you just turn your hand whilst looking at your hand, you're bringing a bit of focus to your body. You're not trying to think about what's going on around you, just focusing on your hand. If you just rotate it like this, your brain can start to wander. What you want to do is think like one finger at a time. So as you rotate, you're turning the hand, and mentally I'm thinking like I'm scooping some energy into the center of my hand, and then I would draw it in, or just let my hand absorb it so it goes into the body. The idea behind this is you're creating a connection, a mind-body connection between your hand, which is far away from your body, like it's the same as your toes, your fingertips. In the Kung Fu that I studied, we did a lot of hand thrusting. And the idea was if you can generate power to the fingertip, you can loosen up the body, get the blood flow circulating. So the more controlled and free your blood is to flow, then the healthier your body's going to be. So you're generating this power, but really your intention is going to the fingertip. So if I can get power to my fingertip, then I can get it to a fist, I can get it to a palm, wrist, elbow, shoulder, and then lungs, everywhere else. If we focus on generating power way out here, then that internal power becomes stronger, because you're not just throwing your arms out, just like we're not just turning the hand for the sake of turning it. You're focusing on the movement. There's like intention behind it. So the reason I'm talking about this is we usually just go through life like one thing after the other, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And a lot of the time, like Alan Watts would have talked about this a lot as well, you're focusing on getting to a destination, but by the time you actually get there, you're already moved on to the next one. So Alan Watts talks about it like you go to primary school and your whole goal is to get through primary school, to get to secondary, to get to college, to get a job, to get to retirement. So you're always chasing the next thing. When we live like that, we have stress, anxiety, and then everything that comes along with that. So if you're able to focus and bring yourself back to the moment, so I'm not saying this is easy. This is something I check myself on daily, maybe 50 times a day. I might say to myself, right, come back to the moment. And especially with different things going on in your life, whenever you are struggling, whenever you're sick, you're tired, you're having issues within your family, or you've lost someone, or whatever it is, your external like world is really magnetic for your focus. It really pulls you out of that, and not only in one direction, you get pulled in a lot of directions. So it makes it difficult. It's not an autopilot response to delve deep and go into yourself. It's actually you're more likely to go all over the show than you are to go here. And that's why I studied martial arts and meditation. I still studied them. I've been doing them a long time, about around 25 years at this stage. There's a lot of different things that I use in my day-to-day. So when I go for a walk, I don't just plod along. I focus on every step, making the heel, then going into the toe, heel to toe. I'm moving through my world with intention. So all the masters that I trained with, they did everything very slow. And whenever I first started and I was young and just super pumped to be Jackie Chan and learn how to kick ass, like, it was very difficult for me to understand why they were doing what they were doing. But as I've got older and I've studied more of this, I went through like a phase when I was doing martial arts. I was learning all these cool ways of hurting people and winning fights and damaging people. And I thought to myself, if I know how to damage, would it not, the yin yang, would it not make sense to know how to heal as well? So that's when I got into that, and then that became more of a focus. I've more interest in helping people than hurting people, which we all should have. So the idea of living in the moment doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to think about, like, I can't think about anything, I just have to be in the moment all the time. Try to think of it like bringing yourself back to the moment. So when you go for a walk, you will do a few steps and you'll think heel to toe. Like, I focus initially, and when I teach this, I do get you to say in your mind, heel to toe, heel to toe. When you're doing that, you bring yourself in. You can still hear the like, I go for a walk in the glens, I still hear the trees, the birds, the wind, everything. But my focus is on me and my breath, my movement, and how this is actually healing for me. It's not just I'm just going for a walk for the sake of walking. So when you go for a walk, you do that. You're going to take about 10 steps maybe, and then you're going to drift off. You're going to see something. You'll see a butterfly. You'll see something that distracts you. Or because we're human and the type of world we live in with, I know this is ironic because I'm on social media doing this, but because of social media, we have a tendency to look for negative. We're not as good as the people we see online. I'm not meditating as well as these people. I'm not doing what they can do. That's not what it's about. It's about living in the moment for you, in your moment. So even if I'm with people, I'm still in my moment. So when you walk and your mind drifts, you just remind yourself, and in your head, or out loud, whichever's easier for you, just say, right, back to the moment. And you focus on the step, or you focus on the breath. When we meditate, you'll see a lot of people holding a finger, and there's loads of different reasons that you'll do this, and different meridians that you're connecting, and energy that you're focusing on. But the first one to think about is you can feel your heartbeat. When you relax, you can feel your heartbeat here. You're not pressing, you're just touching. So when I meditate, I do this and I focus on the heartbeat, and the heartbeat keeps bringing me back to myself. So if my mind wanders, I don't get annoyed that I've wandered. I thank the thought and I move on from it. So living in the moment, why would we want to do this? When you're living in the moment, as I said earlier, when you live in the future, you stress yourself out, you get anxiety, you look for danger, you look at where you should be rather than where you are. So when we keep bringing ourselves back to the moment, then we can actually enjoy what's happening now. So I know that I enjoy a lot more of my life when I'm focusing on the moment. What I'm at right now. Where I'm going isn't as important as where I am. And if you think about it, you're never guaranteed tomorrow. You're never guaranteed the next hour. So if all your focus is there and it's not even guaranteed, then it's wasted focus. It's wasted energy. When you focus on yourself and bringing your life back to your center, it's more enjoyable. When I'm thinking of this, even when I'm just doing this video, I'm focusing internally. I'm sitting in a comfortable spot. I'm wearing this old school traditional, because I was going to talk about this, I thought I'd dress the part. And as I was putting it on, it reminded me, this is made of silk inside. I don't know what outside is, but silk inside. And one of the reasons for that is when I move, it feels really nice. So as I'm moving, it brings my attention. I can feel the movement of my arm, the connection between my shoulder right through. I feel that. So the idea of this traditional clothing when I put it on is that it puts me in that zone of just all of the spiritual learnings, the spiritual teachings that I've gotten over the years from all the masters that I've trained with. I meditate personally at least 3 times a day, so I practice this a lot. It's not just about doing it once a week, going to my 1 class a week and then hoping that I become, like I start to float or whatever. The idea is I bring it into my day-to-day life when I move, when I'm in the gym. I'm not just bench pressing. I get my body into alignment and I use the breath as my power to move the bar, to move the weight, same as anything else I'm doing. But in that moment, like when I'm benching, for example, I'm not thinking about anything else other than what I'm doing. I'm not thinking I have 5 of these to do. I can't wait to get to the 5th. I do each one as best I can, and if I make it to the 5th, great. If not, it doesn't matter. So when I put this jacket on, it's like a wee anchor for me to bring me back into this way of thinking. Because I haven't spoke about this on video for a long time. I speak a lot with people in just day-to-day life, but on video. So I thought I would put myself in the best position for it. Did a wee meditation beforehand, set up, ready to go. So everything that I'm doing, if I can control it in the moment, then I get better at that. Like the more you run, the better you get at running, the more everything just becomes easier because you're practicing it over and over again. And in the lifestyle that a lot of people have now, this is really important for health. So if you came to me and you asked, how do I lose weight? One of the things that I would tell you is you want to become present when you eat. I did the complete opposite when I wanted to put weight on. I used social media to distract me and I just ate so that I would have a disconnect, so I would eat more. But when I was doing that, it reminded me of why so many people end up with a negative relationship with food. It's because they're not aware of the food that they're eating at the time of eating it. So we eat, we go out, we eat at home, we prep, whatever. And then you feel guilty after because it's not aligned with your goal. If your goal is to lose weight, then eating lots and lots of food and food that's processed, food that's not good for the body, makes you then feel guilty. So you're stacking negative habits and belief on top of them. So you end up, instead of just having this one thing, you end up stacking on top, and then you feel guilty, depressed, anxious, all because you weren't present. So I'm not going to say that being present is going to fix everything, but it's going to make you more aware of what you're doing, which makes it harder for you to lie to yourself later on. So when I eat, I'm very present. I like the taste of the food that I eat, and I eat pretty much the same thing every day at the same time. And when I'm questioned about that, it's because I like it. I like doing the Kung Fu training I do. I like the meditating that I do. So when you become someone who brings themselves back to the moment in everything that you do, you start to live just a happier, healthier life as a consequence of doing that. And there's so many ways you can do it. Like you ever see the iron balls that you put in your hands and you just twirl them around? You'll see them now. Whenever you're twirling those, they're creating a connection from your mind, your body, right down to the hands again. They're also stimulating all the pressure points and meridians in your hand. But when you're doing that and you do it right, the balls shouldn't bang into each other and you'll hear the different sound. All of these stimuli that's happening is for you to become present with yourself. Whereas when we stick on Instagram or Something like, ideally you're just sitting now watching this and you're just absorbing the information and being aware of how you're sitting. When I talked about how I was sitting, you probably thought about changing your posture, whether it was conscious or subconscious. It probably happened. When I talk about moving the hand and just being aware of what's going on as you move, you probably became more aware of your body. When you start to do that more, you're more aware of how you feel your body. You're more aware when you're tired, when you're frustrated, whenever you're happy, when you're joyful, whenever you're anxious, whatever it is. If you're good at bringing yourself into the moment, then you've no reason to run away from any of those feelings or sensations. You can sit with it. When I went through a phase of anxiety after my father passed, I went through a phase of anxiety with that, and rather than just running from it, I would sit down and I would sit with it. And one of the things about sitting with it is it dissipates, because usually you're anxious about what's coming and you've made it up in your head, whatever the outcome's going to be, that's going to be negative. So when you sit with it and just let the feeling pass, allow your body to have those feelings. Like, it's fine that you feel anxious, stressed, like that's fine. Like, you never look at happy and go, God, I shouldn't be feeling happy that I just won the lotto or whatever made you happy. We only do that whenever it's negative. Saying that, people do feel guilty about being happy around times when, like when my dad passed, when you feel happy, like you're making jokes and you're laughing just because that's the type of person that they were. People look at you like, well, you should be sad now. And like, I am sad and I have grief, but it's not all I have. I also have all these other emotions, and I'm going to like let them manifest however they need to manifest. And to me, living your life and enjoying it actually, where would you put it? It keeps them around. They weren't, like, for me anyway, my dad wasn't like a sad, boring person. He did some crazy things in his life, so he was generally quite happy. So me living a happy life and having the thoughts of him happy, I think is a better way of honouring him than every time I think about him being sad and depressed. But even if I did get sad or depressed thinking about it, I still come back to the moment and think, why is this? Ask myself the question, like, why is this? How am I feeling? And I like to feel how it manifests in the body. So sometimes it might feel like when I had anxiety, it used to spiral out from my solar plexus and just take over my whole body to the point where my hands would sort of clench up and everything felt tingly. When that happened, it felt like I had no control at that. I would feel it would be like a gut punch, and then I'd be like, right, that gut punch, I know it's coming, and I'm just going to have to suffer the consequences. But when I actually started to sit with it and think, right, well, that spins in a clockwise direction, gets bigger and bigger and takes over my whole body. What would happen? I just asked the question, what would happen if, as this is spinning, I just imagined it spinning the other way? And as I imagined it spinning the other way, the tingles in my hands came back up my arm and everything went back to the gut punch. And then just to finish it off, I imagined it like a pebble, and I took the pebble out and I threw it away because I didn't need it anymore. That was me doing a physical act to help manifest a subconscious conscious reaction. And that was a wee bit deeper than I was expecting to go. I just wanted to talk about being in the moment. But again, it's further proof that being in the moment, because I'm trying to just free flow this, I don't have a time, or I only had one plan, talk about being in the moment. So that's what's come up in this moment for me. It's a reason I love puzzles. I do puzzles because the puzzles take all my attention, so I just forget about everything else that's going on. So if I was just to recap, when you pull yourself back to the moment. You create a connection. You can focus on your breath, you can focus on your steps, you can focus on the tree and the oxygen that the tree's giving you, the energy that you feel from that. You can focus on your movement, whether it's just feeling the clothes, just moving in general, with the breathing, with the way you're seated. Like, I'm comfortable sitting here, but I can feel my back is straight, my legs are locked together. If I need to move, I'll move. I'm not going to stay here just because I want to look cool in this fancy pants pose. When you start to do that and bring yourself back, it'll cut your stress down, it'll cut your anxiety down, and it'll cut down you'll become less reactive and you will actually react. I know that kind of sounds like the same thing, but when you're reactive, when I worked in the bars, people would call me names, call me baldy, like give me a bit of grief. I'd react. I'd be reactive. I would go back at them, fire with fire. And as I got more and more into martial arts and not just the fighting aspect, but the philosophy behind it as well, I realized that was just a reflection on them. It had nothing to do with me. They were just looking at me superficially and giving me grief, and it was facts. They were shouting too. I had bigger teeth, I was bald, like I have a mole. All those things were facts. I was annoyed that I was giving them the power to annoy me. Once I stopped doing that and I started living more in the moment and becoming more aware of my feelings, my emotions, my reactions, when people would do that, I could then react. So we react, we choose what we're going to do or not do. We respond with control, and you can decide to tear the person down, build that person up, or do nothing. When you're reactive, you let them take your power, and then it becomes like a spiral. And like in the bars, it always escalated into some sort of violence. Not with me, with other people. I was a good boy. So whenever we live in the moment, remember, we're not living in the moment 24/7. We're pulling ourselves back every time we drift. Like, there's times where, I'm not saying I'm never reactive, like there's times where I will be, and then I'll catch myself, and then I'll analyze it in my next meditation. What was going on there? Why was I reactive? So just start by reminding yourself that this is your goal. Go for a walk and take each step one step at a time. Sit down and meditate and act, like pick a position and just feel what it feels like in the position. Focus on your breath, even if you have to keep saying to yourself, breathe in, breathe out. Like, focus on the breath. Try the hand move, so it's not just a rotate, it's like a one finger at a time rotate. But it means like I can move however I want and my body feels connected. That's why I love Tai Chi. It doesn't matter what the movement is, as long as I'm not just being robotic with it. I'm allowing the freedom and the flow of the body. When you do that, you are more internally focused, which means you can then create a better external environment. So that's my talk welcome to my TED Talk on living in the moment. Thanks again. Have a super awesome day, whatever you get up to. Live in the moment, and I'll see you soon.